Fresh. We present to you local and international newspaper headlines for the day with in-depth analysis from seasoned professionals. Start your day the right way on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
It's that time we look at the stories that make it to the front pages across all the dailies, and we have quite a number of papers on the table today, Monday morning. You are welcome to the show. The date is December 9th. 2019. If you would like to watch us anywhere you are in the world, just head over quickly to our Facebook page and also on YouTube, Nigeria Info 99.3. Do a quick search, you find a live feed, and right there we are. And you can watch us and leave us your comments. Also, your comments can come on WhatsApp 08295975805. If you'd like to tweet, please go ahead and tweet at Nigeria Info FM on Twitter. That's the handle, and use the hashtag Frontpages so we can see your comments. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
I am Sheriff Quadry. Rotimi Sankare joins us on the program this morning. Rotimi, good morning to you. This morning we have This Day on the table here. Daily Independent is also here. Blueprint, Daily Nigeria Express, the New Telegraph, the Vanguard.
The Guardian is here, the Punch, Daily Sun, The Nation, as well as the Daily Trust. They all came in quite early today. Everyone is represented. So let's start with the first story from the Guardian newspaper. Nigeria slipping into lawlessness. IYC, Afenifere, others warn, and there are two riders on this one. Presidency absolves DSS, declares agency acting, quote, under its powers. No court invasion in 30 years of military dictatorship, Falano says. You find this from The Guardian. It's the banner. On the Punch, where U.S. raises concern, warns against anti-democratic actions. DSS apologized to judge, says Falano. On the Punch newspaper, it's also on the Daily Sun. Presidency defends DSS on Showore, explains why security agency is interested in his case. It's also the banner on the Nation. Showore, Sage, others kick as presidency defends DSS. And of course, the Daily also has a story why DSS is after Showore, according to the presidency. Read that from page 7 of the Daily Trust.
It's in all the papers this morning, Rotimi. The angles are quite complex. The story itself is quite complicated as well.
Look, people have litigated this thing continuously. People have been litigating this matter. I think the best way to summarize it is this. There seems to be an ongoing competition for the most silly spokesperson of the year.
And I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. And there are 2 or 3 people that are determined to be on the short list.
Let's have their names.
And now fighting seriously to win the award as December draws to a close.
Is there a date fixed for the award ceremony?
It has to be at the end of the year. That's why the competition is intensifying between 2 people especially. I mean, there can't be any other explanation for this thing. I'm sure there is a committee somewhere in Abuja that has put out the nomination form, and these characters spotted the thing and just decided.
Took a run for
yes. I mean, nobody knows what the prize is, only them. You know, I mean, I can't imagine anybody wanting to lift that trophy up and acknowledging, yes, I'm
silliest spokesperson of the year.
I'm the conclusive winner.
The presidency says Shore's revolution call is like that of Boko Haram.
Sheriff, let's move to the next topic.
Well, while I won't argue with them, that's why they took him to court. I mean, that's why the case is, they are in court to argue that case out. So why not wait it out? I mean, the question I'm waiting for an answer to, like I said on the chit chat, is what is a charge for which this new arrest is based on? Was there a warrant of arrest? Was there a charge read to him? And Falano insists they don't know the charge.
When people are struggling for this kind of award, there is no logical explanation anybody can. You know, what are you going to say? That anybody should know that the government's power is derived from the Constitution. And that when you make an allegation, charge, and take someone to court, then the matter is in the hand of the court.
That's it.
Right.
So if the court makes any ruling or otherwise, you have to, you can't then decide that you don't like what the court said and you go and misbehave. You set up your own tribunal in your HQ there.
I don't bother going to the judiciary.
Don't bother going to the court. Just, sentence everybody and then let's wait until 2023.
Unfortunately, the international community is watching. We've got speeches coming in from US. International media.
Situation.
Yeah. So, guys, we're still watching this. Tomorrow we'd have a look at this topic on the Morning Crossfire from 8 to 9. Tomorrow is the International Human Rights Day, wrapping up the 16 days of activism. I'm sure this will be coming up somewhere.
Absolutely. Moving on to our next story this morning. Lagos Assembly won't repeal ex-governor's pension law. This is according to the spokesperson of the Assembly. Daily Independent is the paper. Lagos Assembly won't repeal ex-governor's pension law. That's from Daily Independent newspaper this morning. That story can be found on other newspapers this morning. New Telegraph has similar headline: Lagos Assembly, we won't scrap pension benefits for Tinubu, Fashola and Body. That's on the front page of New Telegraph.
The Daily Sun also has it, and I think I seem to have questions today, is why. So let's look at page 40. Lagos House of Assembly said it will not repeal the state's pension law permitting former governors and other public office holders to receive juicy pension from state coffers. Mr. Tunde Braimo, Chairman House Committee on Information and Strategy, told NAN yesterday that the Assembly would not go the way of Zamfara Assembly, which recently repealed pension law for its former governors. Let's move this. I'm looking for the why. It said he argued that separation of powers as enshrined in the Constitution empowers the legislature to make laws, the executive to implement, and the judiciary to interpret the laws. He faulted the court ruling that ordered Malami to take immediate legal action towards the abolishment of state laws that permit former governors to enjoy governors' emoluments while drawing normal salaries. Well, he said as long as the law did not contravene the Constitution, state assemblies had the right to make laws for the benefit of the society in which it's right. And not like I had to pick him about for the benefit of the society in which they operate. So, basically it means this is good for the people, so we're going to leave the law.
See, there's one phrase that Fela used to use. You have to be a participant in the underground spiritual game to understand it properly. But let me put it out and hope that people understand. When he does some songs and, the absurdity of what he's describing even dawns on him more than it dawned on him before. He just injects this phrase and says, yeah, rolling. Who asked that fellow? Who asked him to say that they are not going to repeal the pension law in Lagos? There are some times when it's just better not to say anything.
Won't that even be louder? Won't that be deafening if you're not
now
saying
he has
anything?
drawn attention to the matter. And Lagos people are going to say,
Will Lagos people say,
You just wait and see now.
Well, a journalist
we
asked
discussed
him.
this issue here on Nigeria Info extensively.
Look, the lawmakers are there to make law in the interests of the people.
That's what he also said.
He said for the benefit.
He has qualified it the interest of some people.
No, it's said for the benefit of the society in which they operate.
Who is society?
We.
4 people is society.
Well, sincerely, I'm sure this is
no. Since 1999, how many governors for Lagos now?
Yeah.
See, there is something that is going to happen in Lagos. I will urge all government officials to pay serious attention to it before it happens. There is a saying that we have in the development space: demography is destiny, unless you intervene to alter the course. And in Lagos, That just simply means that if they look at the population projections for Lagos over the next 2-3 decades, Lagos is said to be 21 million people. That population estimate is going to double. You can't have a scenario in which there will be 40, 50, 60, 70 million people in Lagos. By 2100, if the Atlantic Ocean has not overtaken half of Lagos by then, as already projected.
Right.
It is said that based on current global projections, Lagos will be the most populated city in the world.
Mm-hmm.
If 2100 is far, 2050 is not far.
Right.
If you are 20 now, you will be 50 by 2050. So you will still very much be here. Once you have that kind of number, 40, 50, 60 million people, government in Lagos, even if it is until then, that law is going to change.
That's right.
It is even likely going to change before then. Why? Because the necessary planning has not been done
Exactly.
to
Meet up with
Yes,
population.
to reverse
Nobody
the
is
deficit.
Anticipating.
To reverse the deficit in education, housing, transport, power, healthcare, and all those things. And with that kind of demography is going to come serious inequality.
Yemi Belekale put up a tweet some
Serious
days
inequality.
ago. I think that tweet is very instructive. I mean, it was a quote from someone. It wasn't directly what he was saying, but he said, government, people in politics or in office discard only data that does not suit their agenda.
Right.
So if this data is in your face and you choose to ignore it, well.
In less than 2 decades, you are going to see, quote me anytime, there will be armored vehicles guarding many estates in Nigeria that reflect the inequality in the country. The ruling elite will become so frightened.
They can hardly step out.
Yes, that they won't be able to step out. Already you can see some of these estates being built,
Manned,
or cities, mini cities, that will have everything inside.
So you don't have to go out.
Yes, there will be school, there will be supermarkets,
Right.
there will be
Offices.
bank, there will be office, there will be living space, there will be everything.
Recreation.
Right.
Yeah, because they know they have not done the necessary. So somebody like this, in that kind of circumstance, when people start questioning why are some people getting 6 cars every 2 years, house of choice in Lagos and Abuja, salary equivalent to that of the incumbent governor, and all kinds of things, it is always better not to say anything.
Well, I think it's better he did say something because now he's drawn attention to the matter. But there's also a story on fuel
It's
subsidy.
never going to be repealed.
Well, on the Daily Trust, as an exclusive story here, banner headline, fuel subsidy gobs 1.5 trillion naira, surpasses health, education and agric budgets, overshoots by 78 billion naira in 2019. You can go and look at the detail. There's a breakdown, an infographic right here on the front page of the Daily Trust, breaking this down. Does this mean we should scrap fuel subsidy?
Well, I think the matter speaks for itself.
1.5 trillion naira.
Look,
That's a lot of money. That could have gone into
that
health.
is-
It could have gone into
well,
education.
that is more money than any individual developmental sector. That is more money that has been allocated
Right.
in the budget proposal to any individual developmental sector, be it health, be it education, be it. I would much rather that education and healthcare are subsidized in this country.
Exactly.
Because with education, you can reap the benefits 100-fold. The most developed nations on this planet are the ones that subsidized education. I mean, the current government, if I recall right, when they were campaigning for, in the, not this past election, the previous one in 2015, described subsidy as a scam and said that they would not continue with it, and have in several ways suggested that in fact there is no subsidy. Now you can see this kind of money going on. Having said that, they also find themselves in a bind because when the fuel pump price was increased, they claimed that they were going to introduce a lot of palliative measure. And to the best of my knowledge, I've not seen...
To the best of everybody.
I've not seen the palliative measure.
I haven't seen it.
So they are now between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
If you withdraw it, you most likely cause riots. And people will say, where are these palliative measures that you promised the last time?
Exactly.
Because we can't see a transfer of that palliative. I mean, if you move it practically from fuel to education and people can see it, or to health,
Well,
maybe the argument will be easier to make.
Let me put it another way. If you look at the budget proposal for Aso Rock, all the state governments, state governors' offices and residences, you will see tens of millions of naira budgeted for generator and diesel. So they subsidize their own power supply with public fund. Now, for ordinary people, petrol and diesel is not just means of vehicular transport. It also supplies power.
Electricity. Right.
In fact, I sat down with a small team of people some weeks ago and came to the conclusion that every year, more or less, in the business sector and in the domestic space combined, that people spend more or less the equivalent of the country's annual budget on alternative power supply.
Which is not smart at all.
Yes. I mean, that's at least 10 trillion plus every year. So any scenario that will lead to interference there, if the fuel had been used just for vehicles and we had underground or metro train in the big
public
cities,
transport,
and we had the big double-decker buses and all, the waterways were maximized with proper ferry, not keke napep on the water and all that, then it would make little difference if
you pull it out.
Yes, it would make little difference because in the developed world, most people do not own cars.
Right.
Most people use public transport,
which is quite effective.
I mean, there are cities I lived in developed parts of the world for many years, and I never owned a car.
In fact,
and
someone
it made
like
zero
myself,
difference.
Right. I would rather not drive.
You get on the train or the bus, and your member of parliament is
right there.
It's so effective that you can actually live in another country and work in another country by taking train every day.
I mean, you can plan your movement.
Right.
Let's say this also a very interesting story on the Daily Trust. I think Daily Trust has some pretty interesting stories on the front pages. 8 years after, 600 million naira AIB lab is still dormant. We built a lab, that's the Accident Investigation Bureau, and 8 years after, it is still not being used and is left to rot. The facility, built at a cost of 600 million naira, was meant to analyze aircraft crash, and it can also serve university students and institutions offering courses in material and metallurgical science. AIB Commissioner CEO Engineer Aki Olateru said one of the greatest constraints facing the laboratory is the Abuja-Kaduna train, which passes through the laboratory. And meanwhile, the National Assembly is seeking the relocation of the facility to ensure it is utilized and to save taxpayers' money. Contradiction, yes? We didn't plan ahead. We didn't know a train station was going to pass through there.
How many of these things are we going to count? Most reasonable people, and I know some people that, to keep their sanity, there are some issues they don't look at again.
Right.
One of those issues is Aja Okuta. That one defies logic.
Totally.
Aja Okuta. Since I was a schoolboy, that matter has been going on. And some people are just whacking the money year on year.
It's pathetic.
This one now say they set up a laboratory somewhere and that the train is disturbing it. Why? The train is passing through the lab.
Yeah.
It's interesting, really. Rotimi, let's take a look at this story from Blueprint. Please don't reopen borders. Refund begs FG. That's rice farmers, by the way. It comes with 3 riders. Those against closure, not true Nigerians. That's number 1. We can meet rice demands at Christmas. the millers speaking. Consumers stomp down local commodity rebagging. There you go.
And we're talking about this in the next 7 minutes. That's our conversation at 8 a.m. Do you want the border to remain shut? You can go ahead and tell us on Twitter.
So
you can be ahead of others.
So there are Nigerians that manufacture things. Different type of things. They have problem exporting those things.
Yeah.
Somehow rice is about to become the mainstay of the Nigerian economy.
Right.
Rice.
Someone wrote such an article and said, suddenly it looks like rice is the only thing we eat in this country. Like rice is everything.
Haven't you always wondered why Nigerians love rice so much? Perhaps it's because of the quantity of rice we consume in this country. We know how much Nigeria spends on importation of rice every year.
You know, sorry if people, for those that don't speak Yoruba, you know, when they say one thing, can't shake way.
Rotimi is on a roller coaster today. How do we subtitle this in English? They use something to... I don't know.
Look, the whole thing just shows that customs has been malfunctioning all this while.
Absolutely.
It's like, you know, you are somewhere, you have gate man or gate woman.
Right.
And despite all your efforts, there is illegal movement of goods and services. And you say, look, lock the gate, give me the...
Shut it down.
Put padlock, give me the key. Then 1 week later, you say, in fact, tariff has gone up.
What were you doing at the border all this while? That's a big question.
And meanwhile, is the gate man making this declaration?
You
are making money.
You are the gatekeeper.
That's the person supposed to have solved that problem. And then you say, lock it and give me the... And the person starts to announce that, in fact, there have been serious achievements.
What an irony.
Over the last... and you are like, Oga, but we are supposed to have been getting this, nevertheless.
Because that's why you've been there all the while.
That's your job.
It's very interesting.
It's your job.
Let me read some comment from Twitter on the front pages today. Remember to use the hashtag front pages. Olaide Cruz says the rearrest of Shores shows that voters have made a very bad decision in the history of democracy in Nigeria for this period, and the international community can agree that voters all over Nigeria have made a big mistake to 2023. Some people would disagree with you because it's always a choice when it comes to elections. Joy Forever on Twitter also says Lagos would not repeal pension law because the lawmakers are only serving godfathers. Showore government should tread softly. How can the presidency compare him to Boko Haram? Toluwase Oluwakwelumi says, on Showore, the irresponsibility of the executives here says, it is my usual phrase, Nigerians will have sense by force. On Lagos government pensions, Lagosians are happy slaves. They won't say a word. I can't use the word you used.
There's a reason why at least one of the Lagos governors came out and denied that...
he was collecting.
Yes, that is not part of it. There is a good reason for it.
Dr. Mrs. Maole Bara on Facebook says democracy in Nigeria is in trouble and threatened. Every new day in Nigeria comes with heartbreaking news and not heart-mending ones. The sanctity of the judiciary is desecrated. I had to summarize that. I think we have more from Facebook. Sheriff?
I think we should go.
Okay, let's go. When we come back from the break, we're talking border closure. We're having a correspondent, Solomon Dahi, who has moved around the country with the ministers assessing all the borders.
Right,
no, not all the borders. As many borders as they could.
And they also went to millers, rice millers all across the country. And he will be giving us updates on that particular trip this morning on the morning.
We also have someone from ECOWAS who was also on the AFCFTA Agreement and Implementation Committee. Tell us how this is affecting our relations with other countries. Tell us on Twitter if you want the border to remain shut. Use the hashtag Morning Crossfire. Also start sending your messages to WhatsApp 08095975825. We'll be back in a moment. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sharif Quadry.
More talk, news and sports after this.